Chapter 1926. Master said that if I don't follow Madam's instructions, I will be driven back to the mountain. Miss Abai, please don't make things difficult for me. He really didn't want to go back to the mountain. His martial arts were already better than his master's. There was no point in practicing hard on the mountain every day. When he went down the mountain, he even beat up all his fellow disciples. If he went back, they would definitely take revenge on him from time to time. Maybe there was no hot water for bathing. The steamed buns were rotten. The tea leaves were always from the year before, and the quilt must be wet. He didn't want to live that kind of life. Thinking about it made him shiver. Tang Bai finally agreed to go shopping in the capital. She really didn't understand why her sister would give Lin Yin such a task when she entered the palace. She didn't know how many times she had strolled around the capital. She didn't yearn for the prosperity here at all. If possible, she hoped that she would never step into this place for the rest of her life. Aren't you going to buy anything? After shopping for a long time, Lin Yin couldn't help but ask. He was already prepared to carry a lot of things in a while. Every time the young ladies of the capital went shopping, their maids and attendants would carry big and small bags. I didn't see anything that I like. Tang Bai found an excuse. These things were dazzling and didn't meet her eyes. After a while, Tang Bai took a fancy to some beautiful jewelry and said, "Sis will definitely like these. Buy more for her." Now that she has money, if she sees something suitable for Tanghua, she will buy it with all her might. Unfortunately, the embroidery shop had countless of such things, so she didn't need to do it. Then she could only buy some pearl jewelry for her sister. "I think that pair of jade earrings suits you better. And that one with a little green pearl flower also suits you," Lin Yin commented. He didn't mean anything else. He just thought that those two things suited Tang Bai. Tang Bai paused and glanced at the things Lin Yin said. "I don't like to wear these things." Lin Yin looked at Tang Bai and saw that she was indeed dressed very simply. Her hair was held up with a hairpin. The color of her clothes was also very light. He didn't say anything else, but his eyes were always on the pearl flower and earrings. He felt that these two things suited her very well. When Tang Bai finished shopping and was about to leave, Lin Yin suddenly said, "I want these too." Tang Bai looked back and found that Lin Yin actually bought the pearl hair clip and earrings that he mentioned before. She smiled and said, "You're a big man. What are you buying this for?" She didn't expect that Lin Yin would actually stuff something into her arms. This shocked Tang Bai. "What are you doing?" "It's nothing. I just think it suits Miss Abai." Tang Bai didn't accept it. How could she dare to accept such a sudden gift? She observed Lin Yin carefully and found that his expression did not change. She asked hesitantly, "You gave it to me because it suits me?" "Yeah, or else." Lin Yin said seriously, "Do you need any other reason?" Anyway, he had a lot of money. The money that his master gave him was really a lot. He really couldn't find a place to spend it. Tang Bai breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you. But don't be like this in the future. I can't possibly buy everything that suits me, right?" Lin Yin responded faintly. He suddenly felt that it was not a big deal to buy everything that was suitable. Vertex. Chapter 1927. Not long after Tang Bai and Lin Yin walked back, they bumped into Tang Chong, who was strolling outside. Tang Chong saw her first and rushed over with her people. Her originally gloomy expression turned into a smile. "Abai, why are you in the capital? Is Sister Guar here too? My father should have told you that I'm here. Why didn't you come to find me?" Tang Bai was a little overwhelmed by Tang Chong's enthusiasm. After a while, she said, "I just arrived today. Sister Chiang, I heard about your situation. Are you okay?" Tang Chong paused and said, "I'm fine. I'm fine. Come, let's go to the Marquis's residence to talk. Where are you staying now? Do you want to go to my place?" Tang Bai did not dare to go to the Marquis's residence. She quickly said, "I have a place to stay. Sister has already arranged it. If you want to talk, let's find another place. It's not convenient to go to the Marquis's residence." Tang Chong did not force her. In fact, she also felt that it was not convenient to go to the Marquis's residence. Even if Su Machin doted on her so much, the Marquis's residence was hers. She had the final say. The young lady of the Li family had been neglected since her wedding night. She was placed in the most remote courtyard, and Su Machin had not even taken a look at her. He doted on her so much. But why was she not happy? The two held hands and talked, planning to find a tea house. Before they could take 2 steps, they were stopped by someone. It was Tanghua and Gu Jusi who came out of the palace. Tanghua was helped down from the carriage by Gu Jusi and came to the two. Sister Guo. When Tang Chong saw Tanghua, she was very happy. Coincidentally, we met. Let's go to the tea house and talk. I won't invite you to the Marquis's residence. After thinking about it, Tang Chong still felt that it was better not to involve these two. Look at now, they were not involved with Su Machin. Their lives were really good. Sister Guo was looking for a son-in-law. He was good-looking and obedient. She also had the family Tang village's huge embroidery shop. Tang Chong didn't have to suffer with Su Machin, run around, and be entangled in love and hate. Although she didn't know many things, she knew that the Marquis's estate was currently in a whirlpool. If she really brought these two people back, they might be targeted and put in danger. In the end, Gu Jusi chose a tea house. This tea house was under Gu Ronghe's name, so it was trustworthy. In the private room, Tang Bai couldn't help but ask, Sister Qiang, now that Su Machin has married someone else, why don't you leave him? I heard that second uncle even fell ill because of this. He said that he didn't like Miss Li. After Miss Li entered, she was arranged to stay in a remote courtyard. Imo hasn't seen her even once. I believe he doesn't like Miss Li, and as you can see, Tang Chong waved her hand. Everything she had was given to her by Su Machin. No matter who she was in front of, she was the most important. You should have heard that he dotes on me very much. Tang Bai was at a loss for words, not knowing what to say. Since he dotes on you and loves you, why did he marry Miss Li? Tang Bai asked. Tang Chong lowered her head slightly. He said that he had no choice. In that position, he had to compromise. If he didn't marry Miss Li, there would be a gap between him and the third prince. He also said that he could either marry Miss Li or send me to the third prince's residence. In the end, he chose to marry Miss Li, the peak. Prince Charming was always perfect, wasn't he? She didn't know when she would wake up from this dream. Even if he would wake up in the future, she didn't know what the outcome would be. She wanted to wait until the end to take a look. Seeing Tang Chong like this, Tang Bai stopped trying to persuade her. The 3 sisters chatted for a while and then left. Before leaving, Tang Chong asked, Sister Guo, will you be staying in the capital for a while? I will. I'll go there later. Oh. Tang Chong didn't say that she would look for them when she was free. It was better not to look for him. To them, Su Machin was trouble. Right now, all parties were staring at the house of Marquis. Vertex. Chapter 1929. Tang Bai was not happy all day. Lin Yin had been ordered by Tang Guo to protect her and accompany her. So when he saw her unhappy, he racked his brains and thought of many ways to take her out to play. Every time, Tang Bai did not want to go out because she did not want to meet Su Machin. She did not expect Lin Yin to say with a distressed face that if she did not agree, Gu Jusi would chase him back to the mountain and beat him up. Tang Bai was soft-hearted and agreed. Lin Yin was indeed a blockhead, but after Tang Bai went out with him, she was in a much better mood. Later, when Lin Yin took her out, she did not object. Instead, she asked him excitedly where they were going today. Lin Yin saw that Tang Bai was happy and unconsciously felt happy too. Tanghua and Gu Jusi's days were even simpler. Every few days, the emperor would invite them to the palace to play. Although the emperor's gaze was always strange, Tanghua was already used to it. With Gu Jusi around, the emperor would often smile awkwardly. Later on, perhaps because they got familiar with each other, they really became like a family. The way he looked at Tanghua was also not so deep. However, when they chatted, there would always be some awkward things happening. For example, now, the chief steward whispered to the emperor, Your Majesty, the imperial physician routinely took the pulse of the imperial concubines this morning. Concubine Shun, Concubine Su, and Concubine Yuan are all pregnant. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Congratulations, Your Majesty. You have another dragon heir. Tanghua, Gu Jusi, System. Concubine Shun, Concubine Su, and Concubine Yuan are all pregnant? The emperor was not particularly happy or unhappy. Instead, he asked in surprise, So many? The chief steward's mouth twitched. His Majesty was a person who took pity on the imperial concubines. When his body recovered, he would be fair to the obedient imperial concubines. When His Majesty recovered, there was no way to avoid this. Wasn't it normal for the imperial concubines to be pregnant? Why was His Majesty so surprised? It was as if he did not do it. Your Majesty, the little prince and the little princess are watching. Is this really okay? Oh, that's really a very happy thing. Reward them well. Gu Jusi secretly squeezed Tang's little hand and congratulated him with a smile. Second brother, congratulations. I have a little nephew again. The emperor was a little embarrassed and casually asked, What about you, little nine? You've been married for so long? Second brother, aren't Guo and I still young? I think it's good to have only two people. To be honest, if the emperor hadn't mentioned it, he really wouldn't have thought about it. When he was asked, he subconsciously didn't want any children. He didn't want any of them. When he thought of those women who had children and had their hearts set on their children, his heart was filled with jealousy. Thinking about his father and mother, they must have been very loving back then. But in front of the brothers, Imperial Mother really didn't like Imperial Father that much. If he had a child and Guo treated him like that, he would be tortured to death. Gu Jusi's heart was in a mess. She held Tang's hand and left. She did not notice the emperor's conflicted expression behind her as he wondered which concubine he should visit first. A Jew. Tangwa reached out and touched Gu Jusi's forehead. What's the matter? Why are you frowning? Gu Jusi held Tangwa's hand. Guo, do you like children? If Guo liked them, what should he do? He couldn't force Guo not to like them, right? Why were there still children in this world? The Peak. Chapter 1930. A Jew. Why are you asking this? Tangwa pursed her lips and smiled. How many restrictions had this guy placed on her? She did not believe that men in ancient times were born with such thoughts. Even in modern society, which was more open-minded, most men still wanted to have a child. The thought of carrying on the family line was ingrained in their bones, and it was impossible to erase it. Even if they did not have such thoughts, there were still many men who wanted to be a father. When it fell to this guy, he refused and even said that the child was a third party. It was true that she did not have any thoughts about children. It was not because her soul was too strong, and she could not bear children because she lived in this body. It was because she did not have such thoughts. It was not easy to have someone who could make her feel love. Trying to make her feel a bit of motherly love was simply a fantasy. If he was not ruthless, how could he woo the great host? The system could not help but speak up. Host, this guy should know that your soul is special and cannot bear a bloodline in the small world. That way, after meeting you in the small world and getting married, I wouldn't put a restriction on myself for the sake of having a child. Tangwa smiled. I know. He's ruthless enough. As for what he placed, I think it's most likely that once he has the thought of having a child, he will think that he will fall out of favor. He will think that the child is a third party between him and the great host and will destroy your relationship. He will think that the great host will never see him again after having a child. Ah, so sour. Tangwa could not stop smiling. You don't seem to dislike him that much anymore. Because he is very sincere to the great host. And from his behavior, even if there is a story between the two of you, I don't think he will be the one who will really hurt the great host. Tangwa was silent for a moment. I don't know. Let's talk about it in the future. He is obedient now and can be accepted. System, you scumbag. You don't want him if he is not obedient, right? Gu Jusi said with some grievance, Guo, when I heard second brother mention the issue of children, I thought about it. I can't accept that there will be a child snatching you away from me in the future. System, haha. The life I yearn for is just you and me. When I think of a boy or girl snatching you away from me, I feel unhappy. Tangwa held back her laughter when she saw Gu Jusi's sad expression. If Guo really likes children, I can only convince myself and slowly accept it. Who asked Guo to like him? These words were really heart-wrenching. A Jew. Tangwa wrapped her arms around Gu Jusi's waist and said in a low voice, I think the same as you. We don't need another person between us. You and I are enough for our world. Gu Jusi no longer felt wronged. The jar of vinegar that he had knocked over earlier seemed to have been an illusion. He hugged Tangwa tightly and asked, "Really?" "Yes," Tangwa replied and looked at him with a smile. "Isn't it good for us to be like this?" Gu Juicy paused. She held Tangwa's hands and murmured, "Let's hold your hands and grow old together. You have me, and I have you. That's enough." Gu Juicy's heart was about to burst with laughter. As expected, Guo was a part of his heart. She understood him the most. Gu Juicy was actually a very greedy person. However, there was something strange in his soul that always reminded him not to be greedy. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, hurry up and change to a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, chat about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1931. Every time he wanted to fight for more for himself, the coldness that came from the depths of his soul made him not dare to say a word. After being married to Tangwa for so long, he had found a way to tactfully express his thoughts through probing step by step without touching that terrifying feeling. Guo, thank you for meeting you in this life. Otherwise, I would have to leave home and become a monk. I hope that we can meet again in the next life because only you can save me. After Gu Juicy said this, he did not feel the coldness. His heart relaxed a little. Asking for a next life was not too greedy. If that feeling was not so terrifying, he would have asked for a lifetime. In this life, he would ask for the next life. In the next life, he would ask for the next life. In the next life, he would ask for the next life. This plan was really perfect. Then be good and don't look at other girls. If you look at other girls, I won't be with you. Don't worry. In this world, other than Guo, who is a beautiful girl, everyone else is like a block of wood. I have face blindness and can't tell who is who. System. Awesome, this guy. Gu Juicy was satisfied. Recently, he was full of smiles whenever he met anyone. Lin Yin was a little unhappy and very distressed. When he did not accompany Tang Bai to tour the capital, he usually stayed at Gu Juicy's side and watched him fiddle with the little things that he had given Tangwa. Ever since he met Madame, his master seemed to have become omnipotent and could do anything. For example, Tangwa had Minchin playing on a swing under the grape trellis. The next day, there was an extra swing in the house. Lin Yin stood at the side and watched Gu Juicy push Tangwa to play. The two of them were playing happily. Originally, Lin Yin did not feel anything when he saw all this. But today, he felt that something was wrong. Big brother Lin, don't you feel hot standing under the sun? Tang Bai came out of the house with a teapot. Let's go to a cool place. I just made some herbal tea. Do you want to drink some? Lin Yin did not hesitate and followed Tang Bai into the house. He did not forget to answer the previous question. Not hot. Tang Bai handed him a clean handkerchief. Help me wipe it off. You're sweating. Lin Yin looked at the handkerchief in his hand and froze for a moment. When Tang Bai turned around, he used his sleeve to wipe off the sweat on his forehead. As for the handkerchief, he had already hidden it in his bosom. As he recalled this action, his entire body stiffened. What was wrong with him? When Tang Bai turned around and poured him a cup of cold tea, his eyes couldn't move away from this woman's body. Whenever he saw her, his blood would flow faster. It was a feeling that he was about to go crazy. When Tang Bai disappeared from his sight, the feeling disappeared. But as long as he thought of Tang Bai's appearance in his mind, he felt like he was going to go crazy. Master, we need to make a trip back to the mountain. One morning, Lin Yin took advantage of Gu Juicy's free time to look for him. It's only for 2 days. I'll be back soon. Gu Juicy was surprised. Did something happen? I suspect that there's something wrong with my practice, Lin Yin said seriously. I've been looking for a problem for several days, but I can't find anything. Although my martial arts are better than my master has lived for so many years and has seen so much. I'll have to go back and ask him about this matter. Gu Juicy smiled. Your senior and junior brothers will definitely welcome you. Peak. Chapter 1932. During breakfast, Tang Bai saw that Lin Yin was not around and asked, "Brother-in-law, where's big brother Lin?" He went back to the mountain to find his master. Gu Juicy answered casually and fed Tangwa a spoonful of porridge from time to time. Tang Bai was already used to it. Seeing her sister so happy, She felt happy from the bottom of her heart. Her sister deserved to live like this. A good woman like her should be matched with a good man like her brother-in-law. Is there something urgent? Tang Bai asked with concern. She was a little afraid when she came to the capital. Later, she was dragged out to go shopping by that blockhead Lin Yan. Although she did not meet Su Machin, she met many people she knew in her previous life. It was not that scary. In addition, she had Lin Yan by her side. His martial arts skills were superb, which gave her courage. Thus, she was very grateful to this mentor. Even if he was a little blockhead, he was a good person. When she heard that he had something to do, it was inevitable that she would ask more. He said that something went wrong in his practice and he could not find the reason. He wanted to ask his master. Lin Yan's status was not low. He was the disciple of a hidden master and had superb martial arts skills. He would be invited as a guest by the capital's prince. Why did he insist on following him? This led to the fact that when Lin Yan went down the mountain for the first time, he was tricked and almost sold. Although he would be rescued in the end, he met the meddlesome Gu Jusi, who saved the cold-faced child sitting in the carriage. From then on, Lin Yan recognized Gu Jusi and said that he would protect him. Later, Lin Yan's master came and took Lin Yan back. Later, he wanted to go out. His second brother and eldest brother were worried. Because of Lin Yan's master, they made a request. They hoped that there would be a master willing to protect Gu Jusi. They took Gu Jusi up the mountain. The masters on the mountain looked like masters, but in reality, they wanted to come down to play. However, their master was stingy. If they went down the mountain to play, they would not be able to enjoy themselves. They would have to work hard to earn money. Now that they became the little prince's guards, although they did not have as much freedom, they would not be mistreated. Lin Yan's fellow apprentices were all fighting to be his bodyguards. Lin Yan was not interested at first, but when he saw Gu Jusi, he suddenly jumped out. He said that he would accept the job. Originally, the emperor and Gu Rongha had proposed 20 years, but Lin Yan said that as long as Gu Jusi needed it, he would protect him forever. The emperor and Gu Rongha, however, were delighted. This was the disciple that the master was most proud of. However, Lin Yan's seniors and juniors refused to comply. In the end, as mentioned before, Lin Yan single-handedly defeated all his seniors and juniors. In order to avoid being stopped by his own master, he even defeated his own master. In the end, he stood expressionlessly beside Gu Jusi and said, "From now on, I am the little prince's guard." At that time, Lin Yan was much colder than he was now. Is it serious? Tang Bai was a little anxious when she heard that Lin Yan had made a mistake in his practice. Gu Jusi said vaguely, "It shouldn't be serious." In fact, he didn't notice anything wrong with Lin Yan's practice. However, Lin Yan's kung fu was rarely matched by anyone in the world. It would be better to go back and ask that expert. While Tang Bai was worried, Lin Yan returned 2 days later. "Big brother Lin, I heard that something happened during your practice. Has it been resolved?" When Lin Yan saw Tang Bai's flushed face and the anxious look in her eyes, a smile unconsciously appeared on his lips. He quickly hid it. "It's resolved." "That's good. Do you want to go shopping? Is there anything you want to buy?" Tang Bai shook her head. "There's nothing to buy." "Then let's go take a look. Maybe you'll want to buy something. You didn't go out these 2 days, right?" "I think so." "Then let's go." "Okay." My third nephew and seventh nephew have been fighting fiercely recently. Guo it might have already involved my cousin. Seventh nephew wants to use her to threaten Su Machin, but he doesn't know that Su Machin deliberately exposed this weakness to catch evidence. "So soon?" Gu Jusi said, "Yes." Guo don't worry. I've already arranged for someone to save her life. It's all thanks to a Jew. It's Guo who gave me this opportunity. By the way, a Jew. I found that Lin Yan was a little strange after he came back. Why did he take Abai shopping for nothing and buy a bunch of things for her? Gu Jusi burst into laughter. He must be enlightened. Abai doesn't seem to have that kind of feeling for Lin Yan at the moment. Gu Jusi lazily hugged Tang Gua, and the two leaned against each other. Lin Yan is stubborn. As long as Abai doesn't like anyone, he can accompany her to buy things for the rest of her life. What if Abai has someone she likes? He might find out something bad about that person for Abai to see. Tangua. Oh, he learned it from you? Gu Juicy. He won't take the blame. Peak. Chapter 1933. Big Brother Lin. I saw you holding the wine just now. Are you injured? Tang Bai looked at Lin Yin with concern, but she didn't show anything on her face. There were only a few people living in the house. Brother-in-law and sister were always lovey-dovey in the house, so it was impossible for them to be injured. Previously, she had inadvertently seen Lin Yin walking towards her room with the wine in his hand. It wasn't good to stop him, so she forgot about it. When the two of them were shopping, she remembered this matter. It's nothing, don't worry, Lin Yin said expressionlessly. It was just that when he returned to the mountain, he wanted to ask if something had happened to him. It wasn't good to beat up his senior and junior brothers again, but he didn't expect them to be so impolite and find an opportunity to hit him. They even said that they wouldn't hit him in the face because they were from the same sect, so that he wouldn't look bad when he went out. After much difficulty, he finally managed to get past his senior and junior brothers. He went to ask his master about what had happened to him. After talking about his situation, he felt that his master's expression was a little strange. At that time, he thought it was something serious. He looked at his master seriously stroking his long beard and said to him seriously, Lin Yin, your problem is a little serious. It's indeed a rare problem in cultivation. At that time, he asked very anxiously, Master, is there a solution? His master nodded. There is. Although I haven't encountered it, I've heard of it and know how to solve it. Master, please enlighten me. At that time, Lin Yin sincerely asked his master for advice. He never thought that his master would lie to him, but he forgot that when he followed the little prince down the mountain and became his guard, he beat up his master in front of the entire sect. He didn't give him any face at all. Although his master was an expert, he was still a human and cared about his face. He was humiliated by his disciple, so he would definitely bear a grudge. Sooner or later, he would get back at him. For this matter, only I can help you unblock your meridians. At that time, his master's expression was clearly strange, with a hint of excitement, but he still chose to believe in his master. Then, his master told him not to resist and to unblock his meridians. After undoing it, Lin Yin stood there motionless and was beaten up crazily by his master. When he was hammering, he didn't feel anything wrong. Even though his master's fists were disorderly, and he was beating him with all his might, he still thought that this was the order in the chaos. It was just that he had only been practicing martial arts for a short period of time, so he couldn't see the profoundness in it. So he just stood there and let his master beat him up for an hour. Even if his inner strength was deep and his martial arts were good, being beaten up by an expert like his master, even if he didn't use his inner strength, it would still be painful. At this time, he still believed that his master was helping him unblock his meridians to prevent him from going berserk. This was his master. If it were someone else, he would definitely not believe it. When his master stopped, he heard a very happy laugh, like this, "Ha! This little brat, back then, he defeated me in front of so many people and didn't give me any face. Today, I finally got my face back." Only then did Lin Yin realize that he had been deceived. Although he was deceived, his master still told him about the abnormality in the end. Therefore, his master was still his master. Although he had beaten him up, he was still his master. The merits and demerits offset each other. Vertex. This Sumachin was afraid of his brother-in-law and didn't dare to provoke him, so he planned to let the third prince make a move on her. It was indeed a good plan. Tang Bai, who had originally planned to avoid it, didn't know why, but she didn't want to anymore. Why was Sumachin able to use others as he pleased? Then she would let him experience what it meant to have his hopes dashed. Young Master Su. Tang Bai paused for a moment before changing the way she addressed him. I should call you Marquis now. When Sumachin saw Tang Bai, he was also stunned. Was this still the dark-skinned little girl from before? Her delicate skin and pretty face were something that even the noble ladies in the capital could not compare to. He didn't know why, but when he saw this side of Tang Bai, he wanted to dispel his previous thoughts. Vertex. Chapter 1935. The third prince's eyes were filled with amazement. Thinking of the other's identity, his eyes became even more fiery. This kind of beauty, even if she didn't have any status, he was still willing to have her. The other party was also the little princess's younger sister, so he was even more satisfied. Fortunately, he didn't have an official wife yet, only a concubine and a concubine. The little princess's younger sister, if he gave her the position of official wife, the other party shouldn't say anything. After all, if he inherited the throne in the future, she would be the mother of the world. Miss Tangbai, did you just arrive in the capital? Su Machin asked with a smile, pointing to the pavilion. Do you want to sit there? Okay. Lin Yin thought that Tangbai would refuse, but didn't expect her to agree. He didn't like the way these two men looked at her, but if she wanted to go, he could only accompany her. Although he was a bit of a blockhead, he could see that Tangbai had just changed her attitude. Why did she change? In Tangbai's eyes, there wasn't any infatuation with anyone. It was also because he had been by his master's side for too long that his eyes on women were quite accurate. Before, he was confused because he thought that he wouldn't be moved by women and didn't think too much about it. Now that his mind was bewitched by her, he naturally had to carefully observe her various emotions. With him here, she wouldn't be at a disadvantage, so he decided to see what she wanted to do. The third prince was delighted. It seemed that things were easier than he thought. Su Machin was slightly jealous. He didn't know why, but ever since he saw this different Tangbai, he felt that he had missed something. But what was in front of him was a great undertaking. The third prince seemed to be very satisfied with Tangbai, so he couldn't do anything. They chatted happily, and the third prince even asked Tangbai to come out to play next time, which Tangbai agreed. Lin Yin escorted Tangbai back, and on the way back, he couldn't help but ask, Miss Abai, why did you agree to them? It's my first time in the capital and I don't know anyone, so I wanted to make friends. Is that so? Lin Yin didn't ask any more questions. After sending Tangbai back, he turned to organize the third prince's information. The next day, when Tangbai opened the door and left the room, Lin Yin was already standing at the door with a pile of information. Big brother Lin, what are you doing? Miss Abai, this is the information I've investigated for you. Lin Yin handed a pile of books to Tangbai. It's all about the third prince. Miss Abai, take a good look. Even if you're making friends, you have to keep your eyes open. Some people don't look good and have a noble status, but in reality, their hearts are completely black. Tangbai froze for a moment, hugging a pile of books and not understanding what was going on. Chapter 1936. In the past half-month, Tangbai would meet with the third prince at the lakeside pavilion almost every day or two. Of course, she would bring Lin Yin with her every time. The third prince and Su Machin had tacitly agreed that Lin Yin was her guard for the time being to protect her safety. They didn't know that under Lin Yan's cold face, there was a ruthless expression that wished he could tear the two of them to pieces. Although they often felt that the surroundings were chilly, they didn't think of this aspect. Tangbai looked at the third prince fawning over her with a gentle smile on her face. Yesterday, her sister told her that in 3 days, they would be leaving for Family Tang Village. This third prince thought that everything was in her hands. She didn't know if he would be angry when she returned. Because of Lin Yan's courage and her sister's support, she gradually wasn't afraid of Su Machin. She found that in front of the supreme imperial power, Su Machin was nothing. In order to take revenge, she had to cling to the third prince. According to the news she heard from her sister, it wouldn't be a problem for him to live another 40 years. Previously, her sister also said that the 3 concubines were expecting. In these 40 years, who knows how many younger siblings the third prince would have. 40 years later, the third prince in front of her, who would soon be 30 years old, would also be a white-haired old man. Perhaps he wouldn't even live until then. Tangbai laughed a little when she thought about it. Marquis, third prince, I still have some matters to attend to, so I have to go back early today. She would be leaving in 3 days, so she had to go back and pack her luggage. While she was at it, she would go out tomorrow to buy some small gifts for her family, the villagers, and the embroidery shop. She didn't know when she would return to the capital this time, so she should bring some new things for them to see. The two didn't force Tangbai and watched her leave. After she left, the third prince said, I think it's about time to express our feelings to her. If we can get the little prince's support, our great cause will be no problem. The third prince said with some excitement. He patted Su Machen's shoulder. Machen, it's my fortune to have your help. Helping the third prince achieve great things is what I hope for. Machen, don't worry. When I succeed, I won't forget you. The third prince's eyes were filled with ambition. With the support of the little prince, no one could be his opponent. 3 days later, Tangua, Tangbai, and the group slowly left the capital before the sun rose. Lin Yin looked at Tangbai, who didn't have any reluctance on her face, and he let out a sigh of relief. He wanted to ask, but he didn't know how. Seeing Tangbai looking at the scenery outside and smiling happily, he didn't have the heart to disturb her. Forget it, they have already left the capital. Miss Abai doesn't seem to be interested in the third prince. What? He's gone? The third prince's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief, Say that again. She really left? Replying to third prince, yes, Miss Tangbai left early this morning. Among his subordinates, the third prince was somewhat frightened and angry. He said cautiously, This subordinate has confirmed it 3 times. The person has indeed left. The courtyard has been locked up, and there are people guarding it. Just like before, no one is allowed to take a step in. Afterwards, this subordinate went to the city gates to investigate. At dawn, several carriages left. It was the little prince and the others. The peak. Chapter 1937. The third prince hammered the stone table in the pavilion hard and looked back at Su Machen. Machen, what's going on? Didn't you have a good chat before? Why did you leave without saying goodbye? He originally thought that what he did was enough to attract a woman like Tangbai. From the other party's words, he believed that the other party had taken a fancy to him. Although Su Machen was relieved, he still looked puzzled. Why don't we send someone to ask? Then let's go and ask. However, letter after letter was sent out. There was no reply. Every time Lin Yin received a letter, he unhappily handed it to Tangbai, saying, It's from the third prince. Do you want to see it? No, burn it. Then, Lin Yin happily went to burn the letter. Later, it became a letter from Su Machen. Lin Yin asked, This time it's signed by Su Machen. Do you want to see it, Miss Abai? He was ready to burn it. Tangbai stuck her head out of the carriage and said, Brother Lin, I don't want to see it. In the future, if there are any letters in the capital, except for those from Sister Qiang, second uncle, and my third brother, you don't have to give them to me. Just burn them. Okay, I won't bother you with these next time. Lin Yin was happy. Su Machen and the third prince, who were far away in the capital, were dumbfounded. They had been scheming for almost a month and gave up many things in order to get close to Tangbai, hoping to use Tangbai to get the little prince's support. As long as Tangbai became his third princess, then the relationship with the little prince would automatically be on his side. Unexpectedly, it was all in vain. He didn't understand why it was all in vain. The letter sent out didn't even have a single reply. The people sent out also didn't see Tangbai when they came back. They also said that the guard called Lin Yin said that their Miss Abai had no friends in the capital. If he went to casually ask for marriage next time, he wouldn't be polite. What did it mean to turn hostile? This was exactly what it meant to turn hostile. Although they were angry, they couldn't do anything to Tangbai. She had always been by the little prince and little princess's side. What could they do? If they offended the little prince, not to mention Su Machen, even the third prince would really make the emperor angry. Everyone knew how much the emperor spoiled the little prince. In the eyes of the emperor, the son's life was like grass, and the younger brother was a treasure. Offending the little prince, they would never be able to rise in their lives. Tangua found that Tangbai was very happy. She naturally knew why Tangbai was happy. Who would have thought that such a gentle little girl would retaliate against Su Machen and his wife? Sister, I didn't cause you any trouble, did I? Tangbai was a little uneasy, that Su Imo-chun and the third prince both have bad intentions. No, this is no trouble at all. With your brother-in-law here, you can just kick those two into the lake. They won't dare to do anything. Tangbai nodded, her heart filled with joy. So, She already had the power to kick the two of them into the lake without causing any trouble. Her sister would always unintentionally reveal a lot of things to her, to let her understand that now many people can't provoke their family. Tang Bai bit her lip, deep in thought. Finally, she felt relieved. If I go to the capital next time, little sister, I must kick them into the lake. Tang Bai held Tang Guo's arm and said with a smile, Okay, I'll call you next time. Chapter 1938. The third prince's faction could only continue with their original plan now that they had lost the chance to get close to Gu Jusi through Tang Bai. After Tang Guo left the capital was in turmoil. Among them, the third prince and the other princes finally engaged in a cruel competition. Tang Guo lived a peaceful life in her family Tang village. She watched Lin Yin follow Tang Bai like a shadow every day. Every few days, she would hear about what was going on in the capital from Gu Rongha. Since half a month ago, there had been a succession of princes who had made mistakes and been banished outside or placed under house arrest in their manners. Every time Gu Rongha finished talking, he just laughed and didn't care about it at all. The situation was under his second brother's control. It didn't matter how bad the situation was. After half a year of competition, the third prince and the sixth prince were the only ones who still had a firm foothold. Both of them thought that as long as they won, the emperor would definitely make one of them the crown prince. The emperor was so old that he didn't have many years left. One day, another piece of news came from the capital. Gu Rongha didn't smile. When he saw Tang Guo coming over, he handed the letter to her. Sister-in-law, this has something to do with you. Take a look. Tang Guo took the letter and read the content. She understood that it was within her expectations. The competition between the third prince and the sixth prince finally involved Tang Chong. The reason was that Su Machin had obtained a very important piece of evidence from the sixth prince. Once the evidence was exposed, the sixth prince's faction would be doomed. The sixth prince sent someone to discuss with Su Machin when he was at his wit's end. He planned to win Su Machin over and get the evidence first. Then he would treat Su Machin well. Of course, Su Machin didn't agree. In the end, the sixth prince kidnapped Tang Chong. He said that as long as Su Machin handed over the evidence, he would let Su Machin's beloved woman go. Unexpectedly, Su Machin didn't seem to care about Tang Chong's life and handed over all the evidence. In the end, the sixth prince was caught, but Tang Chong was not killed. Su Machin found her and brought her back. He thought that since this woman was still alive, he could still make use of her. In any case, the other party did not know that she was not important in his heart. If he had any enemies in the future, he would use her as a weakness. He didn't know that Tang Chong had heard the conversation between him and the sixth prince. At that time, Tang Chong was not anywhere else. She was trapped under the floor of that house by a wooden box. She heard Su Machin say that a woman was nothing in front of the great cause. He even told the sixth prince that he was too naive. Did he really think that the sixth prince would care about such a woman? The sixth prince quibbled. That woman was smart and had given him so many benefits. How could he not care? Su Machin mocked her, saying that he would never fall for such a foolish woman. In his heart, there was only hatred and ambition. The reason he said all this was because if the evidence was presented, the sixth prince would definitely fall. With the sixth prince's personality, he wouldn't say such things out loud. Even if he did, no one would believe him, because Tang Chong was not important to many people. Cousin, it's good that you understand. Tang Guo saw that in the end. Tang Chong escaped in the middle of the night to find Tang Indo, intending to take him with her. Of course, she ran into Su Machin on the way. He wanted to take her back, but at this time, Gu Jusi's men appeared to protect the father and daughter. Currently, the father and daughter were on their way back. Tang Guo told Tang Bai about this. Tang Bai was more happy than anything when she heard that Tang Chong was back. Su Machin was not worthy of anyone's sincerity. It was good that he was back. Half a month later, Tang Chong, who had lost a lot of weight, came back with Tang Indo, who had a big smile on his face. When Tang Chong saw Tang Guo and Tang Bai, she rushed out of the carriage and hugged them. Tang Guo heard Tang Chong muttering softly, "To hell with that goddamn Prince Charming. I'm not going to be a fan of Prince Charming anymore. That kind of scum is an insult to the word Prince Charming." Although Tang Chong was cursing in a low voice, Tangwa could see the tears flowing down her cheeks. The pain and sadness in her eyes couldn't be concealed. I want to be rich. I want to be rich. Father, let's do business together. My daughter will help you fulfill that wish. Tangwa smiled. Tang Chong threw herself on Tang Indo and said these words quickly. In the past, your daughter was not sensible. In the future, your daughter only wants to be rich and help father earn countless treasures. Prince Charming. To hell with that goddamn Prince Charming. To hell with him. Tang Chong looked at the white clouds floating by in the sky, her heart filled with pain. But she really liked him. She really liked him. For that love, she persevered for a long time. She kept telling herself to trust him one more time. Peak. Chapter 1939. Tang Chong was really a person who would do whatever she said. On the second day after returning to the family Tang village, she followed Tang Indo to look for Tangwa. Sister Guo, from today onwards, I'm going to run a business seriously with my father. Tang Chong looked very serious. Her bright and lively eyes were now much calmer. All the naivety in them had faded away. Except for yesterday when she came back, her eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of mist. Today, they were back to their former brightness. The brightness in the past seemed to be only for Su Machin. Now, she finally understood that this world was no longer the world she saw before. To her, it was a real world. The people she met were all real people. If she was hurt, it would hurt. If she was sad, she would feel terrible. The people around her were really good to her. There was a father who was infinitely tolerant of her, Tang Bai who never gave up persuading her, and Sister Guo who knew everything. In the end, she was almost caught by Su Machin. It was Guo's brother-in-law's men who saved her. She used to be so willful, but when she was in danger, no one gave up on her. She was really touched. Her Prince Charming was different from what she thought. He even hurt her deeply and trampled on all her sincerity. She was sad, but she didn't live for a man. He didn't like her and didn't care about her anymore. Did she have to die? After all, she was a rising star who had received modern education. She couldn't embarrass herself in front of the ancient people, so she had to pull herself together. Without love, she still had family, friends, and could become a rich woman. Sister Guo, I have a few ideas that I want to work with you. Under the curious gaze of the few people, Tang Chong took out a thick stack of paper. I drew this overnight. Sister Guo, take a look. Are these ideas useful? Tangwa took it and looked at it slowly with a smile on her lips. What Tang Chong drew were all kinds of clothes. Each of them was very beautiful and the style was not too exaggerated. If it was made according to the drawings, it would bring a lot of surprises to the women of this era. Not only that, in addition to the unique dresses, there were also some accessories that women liked, which were also very unique. At the end, she saw a few clothes that seemed to be modified based on Lorita. It was indeed very different from the clothes of this era, but it was really nice. This era was more liberal, and the clothes of each country were very different. After Tang Chong modified the clothes from Lorita, as long as someone dared to wear it, it would definitely attract many women. Sister Guo, are these okay? Tangwa nodded. Yes, I'll work with you. After Tangwa agreed, Tang Chong's eyes seemed to overflow with countless beautiful little stars. That's great. Those little accessories are not bad. Rose's idea is very good. If this thing is made, it will definitely be very attractive. Sister Guo, actually, I have an idea, the boxes and bottles. Given Sister Guo's ability, you should be able to get a lot of glaze, right? You can design a special glaze that belongs to the Tang family and print the Tang family's words on the glaze. I believe that after this, the business will get better and more people will want to buy it. Peak. Chapter 1940. That day, Tang Chong told Tangwa a lot of her thoughts. She told Tangwa everything she had seen in modern times that could be applied to this era. She wished she could explain everything clearly to Tangwa in one day. Although she was a little naive and had a bad eye for people in the past, she was sure that her sister Guo was not the kind of person who would take advantage of others. If Sister Guo was really a profiteer, would the family Tang village be so prosperous now? When she thought of her father, who was originally the richest man in the village, became the poorest man because of her stubbornness in the past few years, she felt a little sad. She would work hard to bring out all that she knew and saw. Tang Chong wrote all her thoughts in a book and finally handed it to Tanghua. Tanghua did not treat her unfairly and gave her a share of the profits. After leaving everything to Tanghua, Tang Chong took a lot of embroidery and rouge powder and went to the western region with Tang Indo. There were many established trade caravans in the Yu state. Latecomers like them could not seize the opportunity and would easily offend people. Even if they managed to get a place in the trade caravan, they would not be able to earn so much money. She thought that the things in the Yu state were very rare and precious in the western region. Moreover, the western region produced all kinds of beautiful gemstones. She would not sell these things for money. Instead, she would let those people exchange gemstones and rare items with her. After the exchange of goods, she and her father could bring some gemstones and rare items to the Yu state to exchange for money. Tang Chong's idea was very successful. In just 3 years, she and Tang Indo had made a lot of money. The father and daughter also brought in many rare items from the western region, including some seeds of fruits and vegetables. Tang Chong was very smart. She came to Tanghua to cooperate with her. After getting these things, Tanghua naturally had to discuss with the emperor. She did not expect Tang Chong to bring so many surprises. Through Tanghua, Tang Chong met the emperor as a businesswoman and presented the treasures she had obtained from various countries, especially those rare seeds, which the emperor liked very much. Because Tang Chong not only brought back the seeds of fruits and vegetables, but also people. These people had a low status in the western region and were comparable to slaves. She did not know how to grow these things, so she bought all these people. She had planned to cooperate with Tanghua and let Tanghua distribute these people. She believed that the smart Sister Gua would definitely be able to surprise her. She didn't expect Sister Gua to give her a surprise. She actually let her meet the emperor. Now, she had even been recognized by the emperor, who had even given her a special identity as an imperial merchant of the Yu Kingdom. He was not the emperor of the Yu Kingdom, but the imperial merchant of the Yu Kingdom to the other kingdoms. He was mainly in charge of the transactions between the Yu Kingdom and the other kingdoms. Now that Yu country has liali, soap, and other good things, they just lack someone who can travel to other countries and have a business mind. The emperor looked left and right, this Tang Chong. He still remembered that Tang Chong was the one who suggested luli and soap. It would be a waste if he did not make use of her. When Su Machin saw Tang Chong again, he was stunned. The minister around her was also talking with confidence. She was not timid at all. He could not see the confident woman in her eyes. She was not like the person he knew at all. The top. Chapter 1941. Chang'er. When Tang Chong was not talking to anyone, Su Machin came to her and called her affectionately. Tang Chong looked back coldly and glanced at him. That careless attitude made Su Machin feel a little cold. Was she still the woman who only had eyes for him? Why couldn't he see his shadow in her eyes? Duke, are you calling me? The emperor not only gave Tang Chong the special identity of a royal merchant, but also gave her a nominal position. Although it was a nominal position, it also represented her status. He also gave her a house in the capital. In front of Su Machin, her status was not lower than his. And she also knew that her sister Guo was the little princess. Who was the little prince? He was the mysterious 9th prince, the emperor's favorite brother. So, Su Machin should be afraid of her. Chang'er, why are you so distant? Seeing Tang Chong now, Su Machin was very regretful. Who would have thought that this woman who looked like a straw bag could grow up to this day? If Tang Chong was still one of his people, it would be great if she supported him with her current status and wealth. A few years ago, he and the 3rd prince fought against other threatening princes. He thought that victory was in sight, but the emperor did not intend to make him the crown prince. Whether or not he made him the crown prince, his wealth and power must not be small. Tang Chong smiled and said to Su Machin, Duke, I heard that you got a pair of twins last month. Congratulations here. By the way, I still have something to do. Sister Guo and Abai are waiting for me. Before Su Machin could speak, Tang Chong walked past him and left. Su Machin's face stiffened. He wanted to chase after her, But in the end, he remembered who Tang Chong was going to see and stopped. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. His eyes fell coldly on the place where Tang Chong disappeared. When the third prince's business was successful, he would give these people a big gift. Wait and see. Miss Abai, the third prince just sent someone to ask you to go to the lake tomorrow. Do you want to go? Lin Yin asked coldly. Tang Bai paused for a moment. I'm not going. Big brother Lin, in the future, as long as it's the third prince's people, I won't see them. How about this, big brother Lin? Just tell him that I already have someone I like, and I'm already engaged. I should avoid other men. Do you have someone you like? Was he engaged? Lin Yin subconsciously ignored the other words and only heard these two sentences. He first replied to third prince's men, then came back to ask Tang Bai, Miss Abai, when did you get engaged? When he asked this, he was extremely nervous. Tang Bai was a little puzzled. Big brother Lin, when did I get engaged? That's right, Miss Abai. When did you get engaged? Why didn't I know about it? Tang Bai quickly reacted and said with a smile, No, what I said just now was just to deceive the third prince. I don't want to pay attention to him. Lin Yin heaved a sigh of relief. Then Miss Abai, do you have someone you like? Or was what he said just now to deceive the third prince? That's right, it was to deceive him. How could I have someone I like? Tang Bai said faintly. In this life, she probably wouldn't have anyone she liked anymore. In her previous life, she was tired of loving and hurt enough. Liking someone was so tiring. If she liked the wrong person, it would be a tragedy. Lin Yan's heart relaxed and he sighed again, not asking anything else. The peak. Chapter 1942. Over the past few years, I've heard people talking behind my back about how long I have left to live. Don't you think that's ridiculous? The emperor held a glass of wine and sat lazily on the dragon throne as he talked to Tanghua and the others. Everyone present today was a family. The emperor didn't seem to be so arrogant and was much more approachable. Ever since he became familiar with Tanghua and the others, he didn't let his imagination run wild. Every day, there are people cursing me to die early. The emperor snorted. In their dreams, I have a few more decades to live. It's so annoying. In the past few years, I've had a few more sons who have grown up one after another. These sons are cuter when they're young. They're not obedient at all when they grow up. Haven't I given them enough? You're always thinking about Zhen's early death and want to sit below Zhen's butt. Gu Jusi comforted him. Second brother, don't be angry. Take care of yourself and live longer. Those little bastards will die of anger. That's right. Second brother, what's there to be angry about? Look at your eldest son. He's in his 30s. In another 30 or 40 years, he'll be a white-haired old man. Second brother, take care of yourself. You might even be younger than those little bastards. There are also some little bastards who indulge in wine, meat, and beauty. Maybe they won't live to that age. The emperor glanced at Gu Rongha and laughed. Eldest brother, you're right. Maybe I'll be the one who dies before my own. Gu Rongha was speechless. Second brother really didn't know how to talk. He didn't know how sad his nephews would be if he said that. Tanghua was speechless. Interesting. Gu Jusi was speechless. Second brother seemed to make a lot of sense. But I'm still a little annoyed. Eldest brother, ninth brother, sister-in-law, help me think of a way. Let those little bastards fight among themselves. Don't keep guessing when I'll die, okay? Although I'm very healthy, I don't want to be cursed behind my back for a short life. The emperor looked worried. We can't kill all those who badmouth me. They're all important people in the court. They won't be able to take care of them for a while. Other than their badmouths, they don't have any other major problems. Every emperor is very lonely. This second brother is still considered good. At least there are two brothers standing by his side who can feel the sincerity of family. The other emperors were not so lucky. It was not that they were paranoid, but their own sons really wanted the emperor to die every day, and they wanted to sit on the throne. As for familial love, there was definitely some, but under the temptation of power, these were not worth mentioning. Otherwise, why would the emperor be called a loner? Sister-in-law, we see that you are deep in thought. Have you thought of any good ideas? Tanghua returned to her senses and smiled. I did think of something, but I don't know if it'll be useful to you. Tell me about it first. System. He felt that this woman was up to no good again, since second brother is annoyed that people are talking about your life and death every day. I also don't like countless people coveting your position. I have two ideas. First, why don't you set up a target and let the other party attract everyone's attention? That way, no one will keep an eye on you. The emperor's eyes lit up. This was actually his idea, but he didn't do it yet. What's the second idea? The second idea? Tangua's smile deepened. The peak. Chapter 1943. As for the second one, I will be the most filial to you, and always think about your little nephew. It will give others the illusion that you like filial children. In this way, nephew Nashi will not look forward to your death every day. They all hope that you will live well and perform well, so that they can win your favor one day. Second brother, what do you think of this idea? Even if it is fake filial piety, it is better than looking forward to your death every day, isn't it? The emperor did not mind Tangwa talking about his death. In fact, he did not have such taboos and rules in front of his trusted relatives. The reason why he looked so unpredictable in front of outsiders was that he hid himself as a way to protect himself. If everyone dared to talk about life and death with him, no one would be afraid of him. After hearing Tangua's suggestion, he was suddenly enlightened. Yes, those little bastards looked forward to his death every day. Then he would deliberately spoil them and be filial to them. Whether they were really filial or not, he would appreciate the one who did well on the surface. Every time he heard a secret guard report that a certain son was secretly discussing why he wasn't dead yet, he felt very stifled just listening to it. They were all his children. Those children he had held were not obedient when they grew up. It really made him sad. Sister-in-law, this is a good idea. I will do as you say. Gu Rongha and Gu Jusi looked at each other and involuntarily glanced at Tangua. Then they silently buried their heads and drank tea. A thought flashed through their minds. If they were not from the same family, they would not enter the same house. This idea was really wonderful. After that day, the direction of the imperial court changed drastically. For a time, all the princes and princesses became filial sons and daughters. The reason was that one day, a younger prince was concerned about the emperor's health and asked him to keep the emperor alive. Then the emperor gave the prince a lot of rewards and often went to see the prince to ask about his homework. When this happened, many princes suddenly realized why the emperor did not appoint a crown prince. It turned out that the emperor thought they were not filial enough. From then on, the emperor experienced the feeling of all his children being filial. Although he knew it was fake, he didn't care. In fact, he thought it was quite fun. According to the news from the hidden guards, it wasn't the princes who were hoping for his death. Instead, it was the princes who were looking for interesting things to give to him. He did not mistreat the prince who was filial to him. He rewarded him when he deserved it and praised him when he deserved it. He suddenly realized that compared to scolding these brats, it was more interesting to praise them. Looking at the happy faces of these children, he closed the door and sat alone on the dragon throne, slapping his thigh and laughing heartily. Interesting, this is really interesting. Among them, the third prince had Su Machen's plans one by one. His hard work paid off, and he finally won the emperor's favor. While the two of them were flattered, the emperor conferred the title of crown prince to the third prince. Even after the crown prince was conferred, the princes realized that the emperor was not stingy with his praise for the other princes, nor did he belittle them because of the crown prince. When they performed meritorious deeds and did well, they would be rewarded and praised. Because of this, countless princes especially hoped that the emperor could live a little longer. Then, the emperor realized that the princes often sent him some rare tonics from all over your country and even other countries. They were all rare tonics. He rewarded these filial sons well. At the top, finally, he couldn't take it anymore and collapsed on the throne room in front of all the civil and military officials. Su Machen spat out a mouthful of blood. They had survived countless people, but they did not expect that they would not be able to survive the emperor. How is the crown prince? the emperor asked. The imperial physician replied, Your Majesty, the crown prince is old. Oh, it's all fate. Take care of the crown prince. I'm a little sad and want some peace and quiet. All the civil and military officials shook their heads as they watched the energetic emperor leave. They also wanted some peace and quiet. Over the years, how many people had fallen in the imperial court one after another? Their wise and mighty emperor really had to send off his own children again and again. Brother Lin, why don't you marry in this life? The white-haired Lin Yin still had his sword on his back as he stood beside Tang Bai. There was only infinite gentleness in his cold eyes. I don't want to marry. I thought Brother Lin would say that you don't have anyone you like. Tang Bai lowered her head and smiled. Lin Yin said, I have someone I like. Then why don't you marry the person you like? Tang Bai raised her head and asked with a smile. Lin Yin looked at her and answered seriously, she doesn't want to get married. She said that she won't like anyone else in this life, so I won't force her. Is it worth it? It's not worth it or not. Although I haven't married and she hasn't married, I can always be by her side and accompany her until she grows old. Tang Bai joked, Brother Lin. I said you're a blockhead, but you won't admit it. No wonder you're always bullied by your brothers. Lin Yin just looked at her and smiled as he followed her back. Decades had passed in a hurry. It was already good enough to be by her side. Tang Bai suddenly stopped and turned back, Brother Lin. You've been by my side for a lifetime. If I die one day, I'm afraid I won't be used to it. Even if I die, I'll be by your side. Really? Really? Tang Bai walked over and asked, Then how about we stay together after death? Lin Yin was stunned for a moment. Then a smile appeared on his old and cold face. Okay. Tang Chong, you're in class again? Tang Chong was awakened by a knock on her head. When she opened her eyes, she saw the class teacher's scary face. She was originally the most afraid of the class teacher. Now that she saw this face that was like a living corpse, she looked around. Those familiar faces and environment actually made her laugh foolishly. You still dare to laugh? Hand over your phone. Tang Chong obediently took out her phone and handed it to the class teacher with both hands. This action shocked everyone in the class. So obedient today? The class teacher took the phone and frowned. Looking at Tang Chong's silly look, she put her hand on her forehead. You don't have a fever. Student Tang Chong, if anything happens, you must tell me. You're still young. Don't feel pressured. The class teacher said earnestly, It's a way to pass the time. It's suitable to look at it when you're relaxing. You should study hard in class, understand? Tang Chong was still smiling foolishly and nodding vigorously. Keep your phone well. Don't look at these things in class in the future. The class teacher observed Tang Chong and felt that she must pay more attention to this female student in the future. She didn't know if something had happened to her. Students at this age were the most likely to have psychological problems. But she didn't know that Tang Chong in front of her had lived her life in a certain place and experienced a magical journey. When Tang Gua opened her eyes in the new world, there was darkness in front of her and she couldn't see anything. Was it an accident, or was it natural? Peak. Chapter 1945. It was an accident. The system replied. It was pitch black when she opened her eyes. This was the first time Tang Gua experienced this. Although she had traveled through time and space for so many years, she had also experienced the feeling of going blind. But this was the first time she could not see. The feeling of coming to a strange world and trying to familiarize herself with the environment, but suddenly realizing that she could not see was not a good feeling. Even if she was not afraid of anything, the feeling of not being able to see her surroundings was not good. Especially the surroundings. It was really too quiet. This kind of silence made her feel very lonely. She touched the things around her. She seemed to be sitting on a soft sofa. From the texture of the sofa, she could guess that her family was not bad. Is it day or night now? Day. The system replied obediently. Its host's state of mind was too calm. It felt a little unreal. Previously, it had secretly browsed through the plot of this world. After reading the plot, it did not remind Tang Gua if she wanted to read the plot, because the things that happened in this world were not so pleasant. Tang Gua had already sat on the sofa again, and found a more comfortable position to lean on. Because she could not see, it made no difference whether she closed her eyes or not. When she was about to accept the memory, she still closed her eyes out of habit. Is there anyone at home? No. When the system heard this, it knew that the host was about to accept the memory and plot. Then accept the memory and plot. Tangwa sat on the sofa and leaned on the soft pillow. She closed her eyes and began to accept the memory and watch the plot of this world. Through the memory, she knew that the place she was living in now was not her home. It was her fiancé, Zhang Yandong's villa. This body had just turned 10 years old this year. It was when she was 10 years old that she was engaged to Zhang Yandong. This year, Zhang Yandong was 19 years old. The family Tang and the Zhang family were family friends. The relationship between the two families had always been good. Zhang Yandong's parents and her parents were very busy researchers. They were very busy all year round and did not have much time to meet. The two villas were bought next to each other. The original owner and Zhang Yandong knew each other since childhood. They could be said to be childhood sweethearts. When they were very young, both parents thought that the two of them were compatible. If there were no other accidents, they hoped that the two of them would become a couple. The original owner had liked Zhang Yandong since she was a child. Their paths were different from their parents. Zhang Yandong had loved games since he was young. All kinds of games were his favorites. When he was 14 years old, he was spotted by an esports club due to his outstanding gaming talent. Since then, he had joined that famous esports club and started a different life. The 15-year-old Zhang Yandong performed outstandingly in a magnificent esports competition and obtained the highest honor for the entire team. He became the rising star of the esports world, the idol of countless young girls, and the worship of countless esports fans. For a time, Zhang Yandong's name was all the rage in the esports world. Everyone knew him and was proud of him. He was only in his teens, and his esports career had just begun. He still had many years ahead of him, and everyone believed that he would bring them countless surprises in the following days. Chapter 1946. Just as everyone expected, the 16, 17, 18, and 19-year-old Zhang Yandong didn't disappoint anyone. He achieved more and more, making people look up to him. During this time, no one knew that Zhang Yandong's esports career almost stopped because of an accident. Geniuses would always attract jealousy. In this world, there would always be people who would stifle the growth of geniuses for various reasons, preventing them from continuing their glory. Zhang Yandong was too dazzling, and he finally met with such a disaster. But he was very lucky. There was a girl called Tangwa who helped him block this misfortune. Zhang Yandong was lucky enough to escape that accident. His eyes and hands weren't injured. The host wasn't so lucky. She lost her sight, and her hands were injured to a certain extent. Before she was injured, the host was a girl who liked to play the piano and draw. After she lost her sight, these things left her. But she didn't feel dispirited. When she found out that Zhang Yandong wasn't injured and that after that accident, he still participated in the competition normally and even won, she was really happy. Ever since Zhang Yandong became interested in esports and mentioned it to the host, his eyes lit up. She knew what esports meant to Zhang Yandong. It was his life. She couldn't see, but she liked to listen to Zhang Yandong's competitions. When she knew that he won in the end, she would always smile from the bottom of her heart and call Zhang Yandong to congratulate him. Zhang Yandong's feelings for the host were more complicated. Maybe he liked her a little, but more than that, he felt guilty and grateful. After that incident, he promised the host and her parents that he would take care of her for the rest of his life. So when she turned 18, he decided to get engaged to her. When Zhang Yandong got engaged, it caused quite a stir. Many fans thought that how could such an outstanding esports genius like Zhang Yandong have a fiancé who couldn't see? In this regard, Zhang Yandong was honest enough to tell everyone that if it wasn't for the host, he wouldn't be where he was today. After knowing this story, the fans weren't so excited. This matter was considered over. If everything happened slowly and nothing went wrong, Zhang Yandong would retire in the future and marry the original owner. Then they would live a warm and peaceful life. But Zhang Yandong was the male lead of this world, and the female lead of this world was someone else. The original owner wasn't the female lead. which meant that she couldn't walk with the male lead to the end. No matter if she was good or bad, she would leave the male lead side in the end. She would only be a stepping stone, cannon fodder, a small supporting role between the male lead and female lead. The female lead of this world was called Xiaolian. Xiaolian was born in a family of godly thieves. During the day, she was an ordinary high school student. Like other girls, she chased after celebrities, played games, and talked about those genius esports players. Especially in the past 2 years, the esports industry had been developing rapidly. These girls talked more about esports gossip. At night, Xiaolian was a peerless thief. She had skills that ordinary people didn't have in the modern world. She could climb tall buildings with her bare hands. Not to mention 3 or 5 floors, she could even climb 7 or 8 floors easily with her skills. As for the higher and more dangerous ones, she could easily climb them with the help of some tools. The peak. Chapter 1947. In this world, there were many capable people. A family like Xiaolian's was just the tip of the iceberg. These capable people hid in the crowd. Unless they exposed themselves, no one would think that such people could be around you. They had their own groups and forums. Like ordinary people, they chased after idols and gossiped. At the same time, they also had some special hobbies. For example, if they didn't like someone, they would secretly prank that person at night. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't go too far. They would also post some tasks. As long as they completed the task, they would receive a generous reward. If they were interested, they would usually do it. This forum didn't only have these capable people, but also other ordinary people. In fact, most of the time, it was those ordinary people who posted the tasks. Their high rewards could often attract a large number of people to help them with the tasks. The cause of the matter was that there was a task to steal Jiang Yandong's personal belongings. The basic reward was 100,000 yuan. If one item was stolen, another 100,000 yuan would be added. If 2 items were stolen, another 100,000 yuan would be added. In short, the more items were stolen, the more the reward would be. For these capable people, stealing personal belongings was only worth a few 100,000 yuan. They didn't want to do it. However, such a reward was still attractive to Xiaolian, who had just finished her apprenticeship. Moreover, she was also a girl who liked esports. She also wanted to see what the home of the esports expert Jiang Yandong was like. If she could see him with her own eyes and take a few photos while stealing, it should cause a big sensation, right? Thus, Xiaolian accepted the task to steal Jiang Yandong's belongings. One night, she sneaked into the villa and packed a lot of Jiang Yandong's clothes. In the end, she was discovered by Jiang Yandong, who had just taken a shower. Jiang Yandong was wrapped in a bath towel and had a series of fights with Xiaolian. In the end, she tore off the bath towel. At this critical moment, the original owner heard some noise and came downstairs. Taking advantage of this, Xiaolian turned around and escaped. Because in this scene, no discord, no concord. The male and female protagonists knew each other, and in the various scenes that the two of them encountered later on, they didn't get along. It was like a gathering of enemies. Slowly, they developed feelings for each other. Xiaolian later joined Jiang Yandong's club because she had some gaming talent. From then on, the two of them teamed up and became a legend in the esports world. Where there were male and female leads, there would naturally be disputes and all sorts of dangers. After the two of them faced countless dangers together, how could they not be moved by each other? Although the original owner couldn't see, he could feel that Jiang Yandong was different from before. Chapter 1948. Jiang Yandong's friends and colleagues helped him hide the truth about Xiaolian and Jiang Yandong. At the same time, they also tried to persuade Jiang Yandong that they weren't suitable for each other. Xiaolian was also sad because of Jiang Yandong's fiancée. She sat in a corner and was comforted by the second, third, and fourth boys. Jiang Yandong looked at the second male lead, the third male lead, and the fourth male lead. As they comforted Xiaolian, he felt jealous. It was hard for him to bear the care and disturbance of the original Jiang Yandong. He wanted to break up with her many times, but he owed the original Jiang Yandong too much and couldn't make up his mind. Later, someone exposed that the original Jiang Yandong disturbed Jiang Yandong's training. She used the excuse that she was blind to help Jiang Yandong and did whatever she wanted in the club. The original Jiang Yandong often heard people talking about her. There was even one time when Jiang Yandong's female fans cursed and threw things at her. She was completely at a loss as to what to do and did not understand what she had done wrong. She was just afraid of losing the person she liked. She never thought of stopping his dream. She just wanted him to talk to her when he was free and tell her about the beauty of the world. She could sit on the side and train with him. Even if he couldn't come over to talk to her, she would feel safe sitting there. But Jiang Yandong was already impatient with her and had someone else he liked. She was a person of flesh and blood. She knew sadness, jealousy, anger, and unwillingness. She could give up everything for Jiang Yandong. Jiang Yandong promised her that he would be with her and take care of her for the rest of her life. Why did he like someone else? Standing in the corner of the club, she could hear people whispering about her. Jiang Yandong's friends also came to her and told her that they weren't suitable for each other. They told her that Jiang Yandong still had a long future and told her not to ruin his future. She opened her mouth countless times, but didn't know what to say or how to explain herself. She hid in the corner and heard Xiao Yin and Jiang Yandong arguing. She felt the other party's pain and embarrassment. In the end, she chose to go home with the blind guide stick. There was a very important competition the next day. She didn't want to ruin Jiang Yandong's dream. At this critical moment, she chose to leave quietly. Perhaps it was because she remembered how Jiang Yandong comforted Xiaolian. Even when they argued, they were still affectionate. Her mind was in a mess. Even the blind guide stick didn't seem to be able to help her identify the direction. Amidst the chaos, the original owner was hit by a car and died on the spot. Due to guilt over the death, Jiang Yandong, he didn't perform well in the competition the next day. Was his only failure in the club? The fans knew that it was the death of Jiang Yandong that caused Jiang Yandong to perform poorly. They didn't sympathize with Jiang Yandong's death. Instead, they cursed her for not dying earlier or later, but on the first day of the competition. Wasn't this going against Jiang Yandong? Just because Jiang Yandong didn't like her and wanted to break up with her, she used such a vicious method to get back at him and ruin his future. Poor Jiang Yandong. Just because of an accident, she had to endure so much abuse. Jiang Yandong was depressed for half a year because of this incident. Under Xiao Lian's careful comfort, he slowly walked out of it. The peak. Not treating the eyes meant that the host was very angry. If she wanted to treat her eyes, the great host would definitely not be that angry. Forget it. Seeing or not seeing with the naked eye wouldn't affect the host too much. Even if the host wasn't willing to activate the heaven's eye, there was still the system, wasn't there? With him around, nothing would happen to the host. Based on the medical standards of this world, there's no way to cure my eyes in the next few decades. Tongzi, don't forget what my parents do. If my eyes could be cured, they would have sent me abroad for treatment. Peak. Chapter 1950. What's the date today? The 8th. The system no longer tried to persuade Tanghua to treat her eyes. If the host was willing to be blind, then so be it. Maybe in the future when she's happy, she'll be willing? After replying, he helped Tanghua report her safety to her friends in the group as usual, and told them about this world. Seeing the group's friends indignantly discussing this world, the system let out a sigh of relief. So many people cared about the host, she definitely wouldn't be too angry. There's still about 10 days before Xiao Lian comes to the villa to steal things. Tanghua frowned and thought for a moment. In today's legal society, it's illegal to break into private property and steal things. For this kind of thief, the right thing to do is to call the police and send her to the police station for tea, where she can receive proper guidance and education. Under the system's trembling program, he heard Tanghua's words, in the future, every time she comes, I'll send her to the police station. System. Allow him to observe a moment of silence for Xiao Lian. She better not take anything too expensive. If it's more than 2,000 yuan, she'll be sentenced. Tangwa pursed her lips and said with a smile. Her voice was very pleasant, gentle, and pleasant to the ear. That smile made the whole villa fall into a frozen state, as if it was the 12th lunar month, freezing people. Because the original owner's parents were very busy, they didn't even come home twice a year. Even though the original owner's house was next door, for convenience, Zhang Yandong still brought her to the Zhang villa. The original owner liked Zhang Yandong so much, she definitely wouldn't refuse and wanted to be closer to him. In fact, it wasn't that close. Zhang Yandong was very busy. He had to go to school and go to the club. It was only at night that they could see each other. Madame Chen was the villa's helper. She took care of Tangwa's daily needs. If she had any needs, she would ask Madame Chen to do it. Madame Chen's house wasn't far from here. Under normal circumstances, she would come to clean the villa and help the original owner cook. If the original owner needed anything, she would call her. Today's mobile phones were very smart. You only needed to say call Madame Chen, and the number would be dialed. Under normal circumstances, voice was enough to satisfy the blind original owner's needs. Miss Xiaogua, how can I help you? Tangwa said, Madame Chen, I haven't been sleeping well lately. I keep having the feeling that someone will climb into the villa. Help me find some people to strengthen the security of the villa. You won't understand even if I explain it this way. First, find the security personnel for me. I'll tell them what I need. Okay, Miss Xiaogua, I'll help you find him right away. An hour later, Madame Chen arrived with the person in charge of security. Tangwa sat on the sofa. Please help me strengthen the defense of the villa, especially the courtyard walls. Install more electric fences to prevent thieves. It would be best if it could be controlled by AI. You know that I can't see. Voice control would be the best. By the way, I also need a self-defense stun baton. Recently, I've been feeling that someone wants to enter the villa. I can't see. I don't think anywhere is safe. Tangwa's words made Madame Chen and the security personnel feel a little sad. The security personnel said that he would definitely follow her request and properly set up the villa's security. He would make sure that if the thief climbed in, he wouldn't be able to get out. Tangwa's smile was especially beautiful. She nodded and said, Yes, the kind where the thief can enter but can't get out. Sorry to trouble you, master. Chapter 1951. At 7:30 p.m., Zhang Yandong returned to the villa. When he walked in, he saw that there were many people in the villa. He instinctively looked inside and saw that Madame Chen was sitting with Tangwa at the side. They were having fun, which made him heave a sigh of relief. He walked quickly to Tangwa. Before he was in front of her, he heard Tangwa's voice. Is Brother Yandong back? Yes. Zhang Yandong replied. He was already used to it. Every time, before he even walked up to her, she would recognize him. Previously, he had asked her how she was able to accurately recognize that he had returned every time. Sometimes, he would bring a few companions back, but as long as he walked up to her, she would always be able to tell that it was him. She said, It's easier to hear the world when you can't see. To tell who a person is, you only need to listen carefully. Listen to the frequency of his footsteps. It's like musical notes. Every person's footsteps are a musical score. The notes are different. She said that she had already memorized the sound of his footsteps. Even in a noisy crowd, when his footsteps rang out, she could instantly tell where he was going. At that time, he even smiled and said, What if I don't make any footsteps? I still have a nose. As long as Brother Yandong is willing to walk up to me, I can sniff out your scent. She wasn't exaggerating. She could really do it. He had already sprayed a few scented perfumes on himself. When he did this experiment with his companions, she could indeed tell him apart easily. He asked, Why is that? At that time, she had answered, Because I care a lot about Brother Yandong. Since I was young, I have always remembered Brother Yandong in my heart. Any man would be unable to resist a girl like her. Even if he didn't have the urge to fall in love with her as he had imagined, it was because when she talked about him, the smile on her face seemed to add a ray of light to her. He knew that she couldn't see him, but he always felt that she could see him when she talked about him. Because of a little liking, a little touched, and a lot of guilt, He promised in front of the two families that he would take care of her for the rest of her life. In order to make them believe that she would not be trapped in a world of darkness forever, he resolutely proposed to get engaged to her after she turned 18. On the day of their engagement, she was very happy and he was very satisfied. He thought that perhaps they would continue like this forever. When he came back from the competition, he would see her waiting at the door and tell her what happened during the competition. After he got the trophy, he had to bring it back for her to touch. This was an honor that belonged to both of them. When he received his bonus, he would definitely buy her favorite things. After he retired, they should be able to live a peaceful and warm life. Even if there wasn't any passion or love, he didn't feel any regret. "Have you eaten?" Tanghua asked. She didn't disturb Jiang Yandong just now. He wanted to recall some things. At this time, when he recalled some beautiful memories, he could still live a relaxed life. After a while, he wouldn't be able to. In the future, Jiang Yandong would definitely miss these peaceful and quiet days. Jiang Yandong nodded. "I've already eaten." "Xiaoguo, have you eaten?" "Yes, but I asked Madame Chun to leave some food for Brother Yandong. If you're hungry, you can eat some." Peek. Chapter 1952. Jiang Yandong nodded and said, "Okay." He looked at the workers who were installing something on the wall and asked, "What are they doing?" "I haven't been sleeping well for the past 2 days. I keep hearing strange noises. I heard on the news that thieves have been rampant recently. Brother Yindong is too busy and can't be at home every day, so I asked people to strengthen the defense of the villa. If there really are thieves, we can guard against them." Jiang Yandong didn't suspect anything else. These two villas weren't located in a bustling villa district. The location was indeed too quiet. The previous defense was indeed not enough to stop thieves who wanted to enter. Then you must let them do it properly. Xiaoguo always has his phone in his hand. If there's anything strange, you must call the police first. "I know," Tanguo replied with a smile. Jiang Yandong looked at the sky outside. Night had just fallen, and the sky was still red. This was the best time to go for a walk after dinner. Although he still planned to go back to his room to practice the game, he still asked, "Do you want to go for a walk?" "Brother Yin Dong seems to be busy. You go ahead." "I won't be going today." "I don't want to go either." They repeated this almost every day. Tanguo didn't want to change the way they interacted. Ever since she came to this world and read the storyline, she had already eliminated Jiang Yandong as her fiancé. He wasn't qualified. The original owner was afraid of delaying his work, but she purely didn't want to go for a walk with Jiang Yandong. She would feel uncomfortable going for a walk with a scumbag. Actually, Jiang Yandong really didn't want to go for a walk. Perhaps he knew that even if he asked Tanguo if she wanted to go, she would say no. However, hearing her say that she wasn't going was different from going straight up to practice the game without asking. Tanguo understood his heart. If he asked her and she said no, he would feel less guilty and go up to practice the game with a clear conscience. If he didn't ask and went up directly, he would feel bad. At the time of the accident, Jiang Yandong was not even 16 years old. He was still a minor, but he was already burdened with a debt to someone. Right now, he was only 19 years old. His life had just begun. Even if he said that he didn't yearn for passion and love, it was actually because he hadn't encountered it yet. Once they met, the peace between them would be broken. With Jiang Yandong's current status, even if Xiao Lian didn't break into the villa and get to know him, someone else would have walked into his life. Because he only liked the original owner a little, but more than that, he felt guilty. When he had someone he truly liked, he would feel that everything was a burden. The original owner's care, affection, and understanding were all burdens to him. "Then I'll go to my room first." "Okay, Brother Yin Dong, don't be too tired. You must remember to sleep before 11 o'clock. "I know." Jiang Yandong turned around. Even though he had been in this industry for many years, every time he touched a game, his blood would boil. People who didn't like games couldn't understand how much he loved it. It was more important than his life. Tanguo listened to his brisk footsteps and smiled. She said to the construction workers, "I'll have to trouble you. The defense must be set up well. Make sure to catch the thief and make sure he can't escape." This kind of thief who trespasses on private property must be caught and sent to the police to teach him a lesson. Miss Tang, don't worry. The defense we're setting up for you this time is the most advanced. Chapter 1953. To ensure that the thief can enter but not leave. This defense system is specially designed to catch thieves. Of course, you can also activate this function the moment the thief enters. It took the security company 3 days to complete this defense system. It was basically a fully intelligent system. Even Tanghua, who could not see, could use it. After they taught Tanghua how to use it, they even tested it once. She was very satisfied with the results. Now, she just needed to wait for Shaolin to come here to steal things. But before that, she wanted to see what was going on with the NN and the group of people with special abilities in this world. The system had already observed this matter. Because of the rapid development of technology in this world, those people with special abilities were not ordinary people. They were not gods and could not fight against the powerful technology. They had no choice but to hide their identity and hide in the crowd as ordinary people. But no one wanted to waste their abilities like this. So, the NN of the people with special abilities was created to gather people from all over the world. Later, some ordinary people mixed in and issued some tasks. Gradually, it evolved to the present day. But, dear host, from my observation, most of the people with special abilities who mix in the NN are younger. The older ones were less involved in this. With their prideful identities, they disdain to do such sneaky things. But they do not restrict their younger generations from doing those things. Perhaps in their eyes, these things are harmless and can even be used to train their skills. Is that so? Then what do they usually do? What are their identities? Tanghua found a more comfortable position on the sofa and leaned on it. For example, if they were mocked by their classmates in school during the day, they might climb into their classmates' house at night and steal their homework or puncture their bicycle tires. If they were too angry, they might even put a gunny sack over their classmate and beat him up. Some of them were office workers. In the day, they were scolded by their superiors in the company. At night, they would think of ways to teach their superiors a lesson. He didn't do anything. He just took advantage of the night to sneak into the company and tampered with his boss's chair. The next day, the boss sat down and broke the chair. He fell and fell. In the end, he fell in the wrong position and even went to the hospital. Currently, the people in the company were whispering that the boss was usually too unfriendly, sharp-tongued, and harsh, so he got retribution. As for the person who did this, he was hiding in a corner, hiding his achievements and fame, not revealing the slightest bit of abnormality. In short, those who provoked them would not have a good ending. That's right, I was in one of their secret chat groups, and I overheard them discussing something. Chapter 1955. Is it the biggest night-luminescent pearl that was lost in the plot? Yes, it was lost overseas in the end and caused a huge commotion. Oh, so someone must have set their eyes on the night-luminescent pearl and stole it and sent it overseas. I guess they must have made a lot of profit from this. The plot did not mention who took the night-luminescent pearl. No matter who took it, since she had seen it, she would mind her own business. Although she could not see it with her eyes, she wanted to see what the biggest night-luminescent pearl looked like through the system space. Everyone liked beautiful things, so they should be protected. Tongzi, help me find out where the night-luminescent pearl is and keep an eye on the security system. If there are any abnormalities, help them and protect the night-luminescent pearl. Don't let anyone steal it. Don't worry, Master Host. He knew that Tanghua would do this when he let her read the message. Actually, both of them had a guess. The person who could break through the layers of security and obtain the biggest night-luminescent pearl was most likely the Xiao family. Since it was the Xiao family, they had to stop it. Stealing was not good, especially when it was a national treasure. How could they let it be stolen? Before long, the system told Tanghua that it had found the location of the night-luminescent pearl. It was being secretly sent to the city for the exhibition next month. Because of the fear of being stolen, the night luminescent pearl was well protected, and it was transported in a confusing way. But there was no guarantee that the night luminescent pearl would not be lost. After all, this was a world where there were capable people. The system told Tangua that it had controlled all the systems to ensure that the other party would be discovered as soon as they entered. There was still more than a week before Xiaolian came to the villa. Tangua did not go anywhere and stayed in the villa every day. When she was hungry, she ate. When she was free, she listened to music. Although she could not see, the system would tell her what it saw in the NPC. Grandpa, you're so well prepared. Is the mission dangerous? It's not dangerous. It's just that the item this time is very important. The security measures will be stricter than before. If we don't prepare more, won't we become a joke in the circle if we fail? Xiaolian pursed her lips and asked, then what are we stealing? Night luminescent pearl. Xiaolian should have heard of it. Next month, the city will be exhibiting the biggest night luminescent pearl to the world, right? Xiaolian's eyes widened and she said in surprise, it's actually that one. Who gave you the mission? A friend of mine overseas. Originally, I didn't do this, but he had something I was interested in, so he agreed. Xiaolian frowned and asked, is Grandpa's friend from our country? Yes, that's good. It's not good for such things to fall into the hands of foreigners. Don't worry, I know him very well. Grandpa and that friend have known each other for a lifetime. I know what kind of person he is. Moreover, according to the evidence he presented, this night luminescent pearl originally belonged to his ancestor. He was just returning it to its rightful owner. In the hands of those businessmen who reek of money, this thing can only be put on an exhibition to scam the public. Then, Grandpa, you have to be careful. The security measures are getting better and better. It's getting harder to steal things. Right now, she only wanted to send the thief to the police station for tea. When the sky turned dark, Tangua asked Jiang Yandong to bring her back. Jiang Yandong went back to his room to play the game for a while. When he was about to take a shower, there was a knock on the door again. Brother Yandong, come over and help me take a look. There seems to be something wrong with the tap in my bathroom. Jiang Yandong looked at Tangua's wet face and quickly stood up. What's the matter? I don't know either. I heard a loud sound of water. Maybe the tap exploded? I'll help you take a look. It was already 10:30 at night. Tangua heard Jiang Yandong's footsteps coming to the bathroom in her room. She turned and walked out of the room, closing the door behind her. Tongzi, break the electronic lock on my door. Don't let him come out when he hears the noise. Understood. Host. Host, she's here. Chapter 1958. Host. She ate the apple you peeled. She even ate a few pieces. The system said angrily. This thief did not even let go of the apple that the host had peeled. She was indeed a family of thieves. She stole everything. Did she feel good about bullying a blind person? Yes, a blind person would not be able to see what she had done. It looked like a small prank, but it was actually a bad one. It's okay. I'll make her spit it out later. Tangua said calmly. She had already picked up the blind guide stick and was waiting for Xiaolian to come out of Jiang Yandong's room. She did not know what Xiaolian would steal this time around if Jiang Yandong did not stop her. It would be best if she stole something valuable. If it was valuable, she could file a case and sue her. By then, she would have to squat in jail or suffer some other punishment. She did not know, but she was the female lead after all. Before the halo disappeared, it would not be so easy to squat in jail. At this moment, Xiaolian was indeed strolling around Jiang Yandong's room openly. She first saw Jiang Yandong's trophies and was almost blinded by them. Then, she saw Jiang Yandong's handsome photos, especially the photos of him wearing the battle uniform. He was really charming. Looking at Jiang Yandong's big bed, she even lay down on it and said that it was so comfortable. After rummaging around the room for a long time, she did not take anything valuable. She was born in a family of thieves and did not lack food and clothing since she was young. So, the things she took were all Jiang Yandong's personal accessories. As for socks, she was not interested in taking them. It was just some belts, keychains, small pendants, and some inconspicuous things that were piled in the corner. Of course, she could not help but take photos of various places in the room with her phone, especially the photos of Jiang Yandong. She took all of them. The only pity was that she realized that Jiang Yandong did not seem to be in the room. Thinking that there were still people in this villa, Xiaolian didn't dare to stay for long, afraid that she would be discovered. After all, when she came in, she found that the villa's security was very good. Fortunately, she was good at fighting. If it was someone else, they might have been discovered before they even came in. She sneaked downstairs and found that Tanghua was still sitting on the sofa, peeling an apple. Xiaolian's mind came up with a possibility. Were those small pieces of apples prepared for Jiang Yandong? For some reason, she walked over to Tanghua, intending to take 2 more pieces. Perhaps it was because Jiang Yandong was one of her fans, but now that she was facing his fiancé, she felt a little jealous. She didn't expect that when she walked over, she would bump into something and fall down, knocking over the fruit platter. Brother Yindong? Hearing Tanghua's voice, Xiaolian did not even dare to breathe. She looked very annoyed. She quickly got up and climbed out. If you're not Brother Yindong, who are you? Hearing the voice behind Tanghua, Xiaolian did not dare to stay any longer. She ran out quickly and climbed over the wall. It's a thief. Catch the thief. Tanghua's blind guide rod not only had the effect of a stun baton, but it also had a button that could activate the villa's security. She pressed it hard and activated the security program. Xiaolian originally thought that with his skills, he would be able to dodge those seemingly dense lightning bolts. Chapter 1959. She didn't expect that the moment she touched the wall, which didn't seem to have anything on it, her entire arm would be instantly paralyzed. She felt that something was wrong. Instinctively, she switched to her other arm. That arm was also paralyzed. Her eyes widened. Just as she was about to fall, she used her ultimate move. She lowered her head forcefully and bit a button on her body. In an instant, a long straight line flew from her shoulder to the wall. As long as the hook was attached, she could use this force to jump out. When Tanghua came out, Xiaolian's arms were hanging by her side. There was a thin, long line on her shoulder. She didn't know how it was made, but it probably didn't conduct electricity. Xiaolian was using all his strength to use the force of this long line to jump out anxiously. Because she knew that she couldn't touch the wall, it was very difficult for her to move. Her arms were still paralyzed. She definitely didn't dare to use the wall for her legs. Tanghua had already reached the wall. When Xiaolian saw her, she didn't even dare to breathe loudly. In the end, she saw that Tanghua was calling the police on her cell phone, saying that there was a thief in the house and asking people to come quickly. On the other hand, she was waving a blind guiding stick around. Seeing that Tanghua was getting closer and closer, Xiaolian's eyes were filled with despair. However, Tanghua couldn't see. She tried to walk slowly. Step by step, she walked over. It was as if she was walking on top of Xiaolian's heart. Looking at the long blind guiding stick, she was about to cry. Don't come over again. She had tried so many times before, but she didn't fail. Who knew that this small villa had such a terrifying defense? If she had known, she would have prepared well and come again. Especially when she heard that Tanghua was still calling the police, Xiaolian was extremely anxious. She moved forcefully and made some noise. Then she looked at Tanghua, who seemed to be smiling, and walked in her direction. She knew that a blind person's ears were very sensitive, but she didn't expect them to be so sensitive. Xiaogua, what's wrong? Jiang Yandong's voice came from upstairs. Tanghua's room just happened to be able to see Tanghua's current direction. Jiang Yandong also heard the movement, and only then did he realize that something was wrong. Brother Yindong, it seems like a thief has broken into our house. Can you see this from where you are now? Has the thief been subdued? Jiang Yandong looked down and saw a dark figure hanging on the wall. He said anxiously, there seems to be someone hanging on the wall. Xiaogua, come back in and call the police. To be able to pass through the defense and enter, the person's skills were definitely not simple. Zhang Yandong said these words subconsciously. After all, he didn't know Xiao Lian at this time, so he naturally wouldn't stand on her side. In his eyes, thieves were also very detestable. Zhang Yandong tried to pull on the guardrail of the window, but it couldn't be opened. He turned around to open the door, but it still couldn't be opened. He had no choice but to walk to the window again to see if Tanghua had entered the house. Then, he saw Tanghua hit Xiaolian's leg with the baton. She activated the stun baton's function, and Xiaolian was electrocuted until she lost all strength. The long wire was also inadvertently cut by Tanghua. Naturally, Xiaolian, whose whole body was paralyzed, fell to the ground with a thud. She cried out in pain, and tears almost fell from her eyes, especially when Tanghua tapped her body lightly with the baton. Xiaolian really didn't have any strength to resist. Even if she was a master thief and had some skills, she was still made of flesh and blood. Miss Xiaogua, Madame Chen's voice came from outside. I wanted to give it to Brother Yandong, but it was knocked over by a thief, Tanghua said. Zhang Yandong walked up to comfort her. It's okay. I appreciate Xiaogua's kindness. I'll go and see who the thief is. Why would he come to the villa in the middle of the night to steal things? Tanghua grabbed Zhang Yandong's sleeve. Let's go together. Zhang Yandong did not object. Tanghua also did not stop him from going to see Xiaolian. Of course, she wanted Zhang Yandong to get to know Xiaolian first. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.